Commanding the Strathspey Valley, Ruthven Barracks was built to house a garrison of British soldiers, to preserve the peace and quiet of the country. The peace to be preserved was the opposing views over who had the legitimate right to the throne. The year following the failed Jacobite rising in 1715, the English Parliament passed the Disarming Act, whereby no arms may be carried in Scotland unless authorised to do so by the English Parliament. To enforce the Act, the government decided that 4 defensible barracks should be built to keep the peace, or at the very least, quell any further support for the Jacobite cause. The other 3 barracks were built at Bernera, Kilwimmen and Inverness-shire. However, the barracks at Ruthven is the most intact of the 4 to survive. Ruthven Barracks was constructed between 1719 and 1721, and from its position at the entrance to the Strathspey Valley, it served to control the main river crossing from the lowlands to the highland towns of Inverness, Perth and Fort Augustus, along with the military roads created by Major General George Wade of the British Army. Ruthven was initially garrisoned by infantry, however in 1734 they were joined by a detachment of dragoons to serve as a convoy for money or provisions for the use of the forces, as well as to retain that part of the country in obedience. The most prominent features of Ruthven are the 2 barrack blocks, each of which were designed to provide billeting for 60 men, with the individual buildings having 6 rooms housing 10 soldiers, sleeping 2 to a bed. Ruthven was not constructed with a dedicated mess area nor laundry facilities, so the soldiers were expected to cook and launder in their own accommodation. Stores of food, along with the garrison's munitions, were kept in the barrack blocks' lofts and basements, the latter of which had musket loops accidentally incorporated into the walls, a flaw that was naturally rectified after construction. Although Ruthven could have held 2 companies, about 120 soldiers, not including officers, it is unlikely that it ever was fully garrisoned. Indeed, if it were so, the addition of the dragoons, along with their horses, would certainly have caused Ruthven to become overcrowded. The senior officers of both the infantry and cavalry were quartered on the upper floors of the towers that mark the corners of the garrison. Below them, inside the towers, were housed service rooms, including a guard room, a prison, the bakehouse and the brewhouse. The latrines were initially where the dragoons' stables now stand, but were moved to inside the main courtyard following their arrival. The officers had theirs beside the bakehouse. Rations were issued to the garrison from the bake and brew houses, but the soldiers were also able to purchase additional victuals from the stores. Prices were beer at 6p a gallon, whisky at 1p a gill, that being a quarter pint, rum at 3p per half pint, and porter at 2p a bottle, the size of which is unspecified, but likely to have been a pint. Although Ruthven was built to be defensible, there was never any artillery stationed there. Should the garrison come under assault, it was expected to defend itself with muskets fired through the loops in the walls. And indeed this is what happened in August 1745, when a force of around 300 Jacobites attempted to take Ruthven. At the time of the attack, there was only one section inside the barracks. These 12 men, led by one Sergeant Malloy, successfully repelled the Jacobites, with the loss of only 1 British soldier. In his report, Malloy stated that the soldier was shot through the head by foolishly holding his head too high over the parapet. The Jacobites were, however, undeterred by the failed assault on Ruthven and returned in February 1746 under the command of Gordon of Glenbucket, only this time with the addition of artillery. Knowing that Ruthven would be unable to successfully defend against artillery, the garrison surrendered to Glenbucket's force. Although the Jacobite cause was strengthened by the capture of Ruthven, and so control over the entrance to the Strathspey Valley, future field engagements against the British proved disastrous. On the 16th of April 1746 at Culloden, the Jacobite forces of Prince Charles Edward Stuart were defeated by the British Army. The remnants of the Jacobite force, led by Lieutenant General Lord George Murray, retreated to Ruthven, where on the 20th of April a message arrived from Charles Stuart saying, "Let every man seek his own safety in the best way he can." Although support remained for the Jacobite cause, Charles Stuart was unable to ever again mount an effective resistance against the British. He died in Rome on the 30th of January 1788 from a stroke. A monument in St. Peter's Basilica marks where he was finally laid to rest.